Imagine a landscape painted in soft shades of green and grey, where towering Himalayan peaks rise like silent guardians above valleys veiled in mist. The early morning light drifts slowly across terraced fields, and a gentle wind whispers through pine and rhododendron trees, carrying the faint scent of earth and snow. In a small, secluded village tucked between two mountains, the first light of dawn illuminates stone houses with sloping roofs, each built carefully with the hands of generations who had lived here for centuries. Smoke curls from chimneys, and the sound of distant bells mingles with the soft murmur of a nearby stream, flowing steadily toward valleys unseen. Life here moves with the rhythm of the mountains. People rise early, as they always have, guided by the sun rather than the clock. Women sweep the courtyards, their brooms made from bundles of dried twigs, and prepare simple meals of lentils, barley, and vegetables grown on the terraced slopes. Men step into the cold morning air to tend goats, yaks, and small herds of cattle, careful to navigate the narrow paths etched into the steep hillsides. Children follow quietly, carrying small bundles of fodder or firewood, their laughter mingling with the soft echoes of the mountains. Villagers of this region have always adapted to the challenges of their environment. The terraces on which they grow crops are carefully constructed to capture and hold rainwater, and stone walls keep the soil from slipping during heavy monsoon rains. Houses are built low to resist fierce winter winds and insulated with thick layers of packed earth or straw. Every household stores provisions for months, knowing that during the winter, heavy snowfall can cut off the village from the nearest town for weeks. The days are long and measured by routine. In the mornings, people move through their chores with a quiet diligence. Women grind barley with stone mills, turning the grain into flour for bread that will be baked in earthen ovens. Men repair tools, mend fences, or carry firewood down narrow mountain paths. In the afternoons, the sun warms the slopes just enough for a brief rest. Some sit in the shade, quietly weaving wool into cloth, while elders share stories of past seasons, of journeys along dangerous passes, or of festivals that mark the turning of the year. Trade is rare, but essential. Once or twice a season, mule caravans arrive, bringing tea, salt, and other goods from distant towns. Villagers exchange their barley, wool, and handcrafted items, always careful to store a portion of each harvest for themselves. These journeys, though brief, are a reminder of the wider world beyond the mountains, a world that arrives slowly, quietly, and with a respect for the rhythm of the mountains. Seasons define life here. Spring brings the melting of snow, and with it, the first green shoots on the terraced fields. Summer is busy, filled with planting and tending crops, with yaks grazing on the high pastures and villagers moving carefully along steep paths. Autumn is a time of harvest, of gathering grain, and of preparing for the long winter. Villagers store dried vegetables, grains, and smoked meats in stone cellars, while wool is spun and knitted into warm garments. Winter arrives with a silence that is almost sacred, blanketing the village in snow and slowing life to its essential rhythms. Fires burn continuously and families gather together, sharing warmth and stories as the wind roars through the mountains outside. In festivals and rituals, one sees the soul of the community. Even in these small, forgotten villages, traditions are rich and deliberate. Colourful prayer flags flutter along ridges and rooftops, carrying blessings on the wind. Monks or elders perform ceremonies for planting, harvest, and seasonal changes, their chants resonating through the valleys. Music is sparse but meaningful, often just the soft beat of drums or the twang of a stringed instrument echoing across the mountains and carrying the history of generations. Travel between villages is cautious and deliberate. Paths are narrow and steep, often carved into cliffs, and crossing a river can mean balancing on wooden planks or a simple rope bridge. Villagers know the mountains intimately, the shape of the land, the timing of avalanches, and the hidden trails that lead to pastures or neighbouring settlements. Life depends on respect for these natural rhythms and the knowledge passed down over generations. Through this quiet persistence, The villagers maintain a sense of continuity. Each household contributes to the community. The carpenter builds doors, the potter shapes clay for cooking, the blacksmith tends to tools. Children learn by watching and helping, understanding from a young age the delicate balance between human life and the vast, often unforgiving mountains around them. As night falls, the village grows silent. Only the faint crackle of fires and the distant call of an owl break the stillness. Families gather in their homes, the day's work done, and the soft glow of oil lamps illuminates the rooms. The mountains loom above, ancient and unchanging, a reminder of both the challenges and the serenity of life in this remote place. Outside, stars glimmer with extraordinary clarity, unspoiled by city lights, offering a sense of calm and timelessness. Here, in these forgotten Himalayan villages, life has always been measured not in hours or days, but in seasons, in harvests, in the steady passage of generations. Each day is simple, purposeful, and connected to the rhythms of nature. And in this simplicity lies a quiet beauty, one that has endured for centuries, waiting to be remembered in the whispers of wind across the mountain slopes. The villagers awaken with the light, their lives guided not by the ticking of a clock, but by the movement of the sun and the quiet rhythms of nature. Women move silently through the courtyards, sweeping loose soil and fallen leaves from paths, and carrying small bundles of firewood back to their homes. The wood crackles as it is stacked carefully, each piece chosen for its size and dryness to sustain the long winter nights. Inside the houses, hearths are prepared for cooking, and the first meals of the day are simple yet nourishing barley porridge, a few vegetables, occasionally eggs or milk, depending on the season and what the animals provide. Men step into the cool morning air to tend to animals, their boots crunching against the frost-hardened earth. Yaks and goats are led to pastures, their hooves stirring the dew as they graze. Herding here is both a necessity and a tradition, a rhythm that has persisted for generations. Villagers know the temperament of each animal, the routes they prefer through the hills, and the hidden patches of grass that remain lush even in dry seasons. These daily routines are performed with quiet care, almost reverent, as if each action connects the people to the enduring landscape around them. Children, wrapped in simple woolen garments, follow along paths that wind around terraced fields. They carry small bundles of fodder, practice herding the younger animals, or collect firewood. Education in these villages is both formal and informal. While a few elders may teach reading and writing, most learning comes from observation and participation in daily life. Children watch their parents carefully, absorbing the skills they will need to maintain their homes, care for livestock, and navigate the mountain terrain. They learn the names of plants, the timing of seasons, and the stories of ancestors who crossed perilous passes or survived harsh winters. The rhythm of work changes with the seasons. Spring brings the first melting of snow, revealing soft soil ready for planting. Terraces are repaired and reinforced, and seeds of barley, buckwheat, and maize are sown by hand. Villagers work collectively, often helping each other to move stones or prepare fields. The sound of hoes striking earth and the low murmur of conversation carry across the slopes, mingling with the song of birds returning to the valleys. Summer is a season of tending, of carefully watering and weeding crops, and of leading livestock to higher pastures where grass is abundant. The days are long, filled with labor, yet marked by a steady, unhurried pace that the mountains themselves seem to impose. Autumn arrives with a gentle shift in light. The air grows cooler, and clouds gather earlier in the evening. Harvest time is a season of celebration as well as work. Crops are gathered from the terraces, carefully stored in granaries built from stone or timber. Some villages smoke and dry vegetables, others preserve grains in tightly sealed containers to ensure survival through the months when snow will isolate them. During this season, small festivals mark the cycles of life and the bounty of the earth. Simple offerings are made at household shrines or on hilltops, prayers for protection and prosperity whispered into the wind. Music, though sparse, accompanies these moments the soft beat of a drum, the twang of a stringed instrument, and the clear voices of those singing old songs that tell of mountains, rivers, and ancestors. Winter transforms the villages completely. Heavy snow blankets the terraces and rooftops, and paths that connect neighbouring communities often disappear under drifts. Travel becomes difficult, sometimes impossible for days at a time. During these months, life slows and the village focuses inward. Fires burn continuously in hearths, and smoke lingers in the low, warm spaces of each home. Families gather together, sharing meals, mending clothing, and spinning wool into thick yarn. Storytelling becomes central to daily life. Elders recount tales of past winters, of journeys across frozen passes, and of the customs that sustain the community through adversity. These narratives are not merely entertainment, they are the repository of knowledge, the oral history that teaches young villagers how to live with the mountains. Food is carefully rationed during these months. Barley flour is made into simple breads or dumplings. Preserved vegetables are cooked into stews, and milk from yaks or goats provides sustenance. Villagers supplement their diet with meat from livestock raised and slaughtered according to tradition. The preparation and storage of food are communal responsibilities, and every household contributes to the security of the village. In this way, even the harshest winter becomes a period of continuity and shared resilience. Religious and cultural practices shape the life of the village as well. Small temples or shrines often sit on hilltops, their prayer flags fluttering in the wind. Villagers make regular offerings of grain, butter, or incense, and local priests or monks conduct ceremonies to mark important seasonal transitions. These rituals are deeply intertwined with agricultural cycles, the well-being of livestock, and the health of the community. Music and chants are subdued, but carry meaning far beyond sound. They connect the villagers to the spiritual life of the mountains, to ancestors, and to the cycles of nature. The architecture of the villages is itself an adaptation to the environment. Stone houses with thick walls protect against both winter chill and summer heat. Roofs are steep, made from overlapping layers of slate or wooden shingles to shed rain and snow. Inside, rooms are multifunctional living spaces during the day, sleeping quarters at night. Furniture is minimal and often built by local carpenters using timber from nearby forests. Every household stores tools, food, and clothing carefully, understanding that isolation can arrive suddenly in the mountains. Paths connecting villages are narrow and winding, often carved into cliffs or following the contours of the mountains. Crossing a river may require balancing on planks or ropes, or walking long distances to reach a safe ford. These journeys are performed with caution and skill, and knowledge of the terrain is passed down over generations. Villagers know where snow is likely to slide, which cliffs are unstable, and which high passes are safest for moving livestock. These skills are vital as trade and communication depend on them. Caravans sometimes arrive, carrying goods from distant towns, salt tea, iron tools, and clothing. In exchange, villagers offer barley, wool, handmade textiles, or medicinal herbs. These exchanges are rare and highly valued, providing not only essential supplies, but also a connection to the world beyond the mountains. Stories brought by travellers are shared at hearths and gatherings, weaving a larger narrative into the local history. Daily life in the villages is also shaped by careful attention to health and survival. Herbal knowledge is widespread, and elders often act as healers. Remedies are prepared from plants gathered in alpine meadows or along riverbanks. The knowledge of these plants, their seasons, and their uses is passed down orally, forming an essential part of the village's continuity. Villagers are attuned to the changes in weather, to the subtle signals of livestock behavior, and to the signs of impending snow or rain. This attentiveness allows them to anticipate challenges and adapt with skill born from centuries of experience. Despite the harshness of the environment, moments of beauty are frequent. In early morning light, frost sparkles on stone walls and roofs. birds call from nearby trees, and the distant peaks glow with pink and gold hues as the sun rises. Children's laughter echoes across terraces, and the gentle sound of flowing streams carries a sense of calm throughout the village. Life here is simple, measured, and deeply connected to the land. Evenings bring a quiet rhythm of reflection. Families gather to eat, work on crafts, or spin yarn. The smoke of fires rises into the sky, blending with the scent of dried herbs hung to cure in kitchens and storage rooms. Villagers often step outside to witness the stars, clearer here than in any city, sparkling across the deep dark of the Himalayan night. These moments offer a sense of continuity, of smallness within the vastness of the mountains, and of connection to generations who lived and thrived in these same spaces. Through centuries, these villages have persisted. They are shaped by the rhythms of seasons, by the constraints and gifts of the environment, and by the careful transmission of knowledge and culture from one generation to the next. Houses, terraces, and paths are built to endure. Festivals, rituals, and stories ensure that each new generation understands its place within the cycles of life and nature. Trade and travel are limited but significant, sustaining both material needs and the sense of connection to a larger world. Even in moments of solitude or hardship, the villagers' lives are interwoven with resilience, patience, and respect for the mountains. Children grow learning both the practical skills needed to survive and the stories that preserve the village's history. Adults work with dedication, ensuring that every roof, terrace, and granary is maintained. Elders guide, teach, and remind everyone of the wisdom carried across centuries. And through all of this, life flows steadily, shaped by the quiet, enduring presence of the Himalayan peaks that surround them. The mountains themselves shape every aspect of daily life. Terraces climb the slopes in neat, overlapping steps, each carefully maintained to hold soil and water. Villagers work these terraces from dawn until late afternoon, planting seeds in spring, weeding and tending crops in summer, and harvesting in autumn. The soil is rich in some areas and thin in others, and its care is central to survival. Stones are removed and stacked to build small walls or paths, and channels are dug to divert meltwater from snow or rainfall. Each terrace carries a sense of history, centuries of labor, knowledge, and continuity, passed from parents to children, as essential as the air and water that sustain life. Spring is a season of cautious hope. Snow melts gradually from the higher peaks, feeding streams that nourish the lower terraces. Villagers prepare fields with care, ploughing soil with wooden ploughs guided by oxen. Seeds of barley, buckwheat, maize, and lentils are scattered into furrows, pressed gently with hands, and covered with the soft earth. The planting process is often accompanied by whispered prayers or quiet songs, small rituals intended to honor the land and ask for a bountiful harvest. Children watch and imitate, learning not only the mechanics of planting, but the reverence that accompanies the work. With summer comes a bustle of activity. Terraces are alive with green shoots stretching towards sunlight. Villagers move carefully along narrow paths, carrying water to crops in baskets or leather containers. Livestock are led to higher pastures where grasses grow lush. The mountains are generous in these months, providing grazing, medicinal herbs, and wild fruits that supplement the villagers' diet. Daily life is laborious but rhythmic, and even the heat of summer does not break the calm pace imposed by the land. The harvest in autumn is both work and celebration. Crops are gathered, threshed, and stored in granaries built of timber and stone, designed to protect the grain from cold and moisture. Villagers work collectively, sharing tools, labor, and knowledge. Some families store barley in large earthen jars sealed with clay, while others dry vegetables and preserve meats in small smokehouses. Harvest festivals follow naturally from these labors. Small shrines are adorned with fresh flowers, prayer flags, and offerings of grain and butter. Elders chant ancient hymns or stories, recounting the wisdom of ancestors who lived in the mountains centuries before. Drums beat softly, flutes play delicate melodies, and the voices of villagers join together, resonating with the quiet vastness of the valley. Winter transforms the village completely. Snow blankets terraces, rooftops, and paths, isolating the community from neighboring settlements. Travel becomes dangerous, sometimes impossible, and villagers retreat inward, relying on stored provisions and the warmth of family and hearth. Fires burn continuously, smoke rising in thin spirals into the crisp, cold air. Families gather around hearths to share meals, mend clothing, spin wool, and weave textiles. In these months, storytelling becomes central to survival. Elders recount tales of past winters, of journeys across frozen passes, and of the mountain's many hidden dangers. These stories carry practical knowledge as well as cultural memory, teaching children how to navigate the harsh environment safely and with respect. Daily meals in winter are simple yet sustaining. Barley flour is mixed with water to create dense breads, often cooked in small earthen ovens or over open fires. Dried vegetables and preserved grains are combined in stews or porridges, and milk from yaks or goats provides nourishment. Meat is used sparingly, often during special occasions or festivals. Every household participates in food preparation, ensuring that each family has enough to endure the long, cold months. Health and medicine in these villages rely heavily on local knowledge. Herbal remedies are gathered from alpine meadows, forests, and riverbanks. Villagers know which plants are effective for fevers, stomach ailments, wounds, or fatigue. Elderly healers pass this knowledge orally, instructing younger generations in the careful identification of herbs, proper preparation methods, and the timing of collection. This knowledge is vital, as formal medical care may be days or weeks away over treacherous terrain. The people of these villages have learned to coexist with both the generosity and the dangers of the mountains, developing resilience, caution, and attentiveness that guide every decision. Architecture in the villages is both practical and symbolic. Stone houses with thick walls protect against winter winds and summer sun. Roofs often slope sharply, shed snow and rain efficiently. Inside, rooms are multi-purpose, living spaces by day, sleeping quarters by night, storage for food and tools as needed. Fireplaces or hearths are centrally located, providing warmth, light, and a focal point for family life. Wood for construction comes from nearby forests, harvested carefully to ensure sustainability. Every stone, every timber, every layer of thatched insulation reflects centuries of adaptation to the mountain's challenges. Paths connecting villages are narrow, winding, and sometimes treacherous. Villagers traverse these paths on foot, often carrying bundles of goods or leading animals. Crossing a river may involve balancing on wooden planks or rope bridges, a task requiring careful attention and skill. Knowledge of terrain, snow patterns, and weather is essential, and these skills are taught from childhood. Villagers learn not only to navigate paths, but to anticipate danger, to read the mountains as one reads a familiar book. Even small details, the color of clouds, the direction of wind, the movement of animals, carry meaning. Trade, though infrequent, forms a vital link between the village and the wider world. Caravans arrive with tea, salt, iron tools, and cloth. Villagers exchange grain, wool, hand-woven textiles, and medicinal herbs. These exchanges are eagerly awaited, providing not just material goods but also stories, news, and a sense of connection beyond the mountains. The rhythm of trade is slow, deliberate, in harmony with the pace of life imposed by snow, rain, and steep terrain. Spiritual life is interwoven with daily routines. Shrines and small temples, often perched on hilltops or near streams, serve as centers for prayer and reflection. Prayer flags flutter along ridges and rooftops, carrying blessings into the wind. Rituals accompany planting, harvesting, and seasonal transitions. Elders and local priests lead ceremonies, their chants echoing across valleys. Music, when present, is subtle, the soft beat of drums, the twang of stringed instruments, or the gentle murmur of collective song. These spiritual practices are not separate from life, but inseparable. binding the villagers to their environment, their history, and each other. Craftsmanship is another essential element of life. Carpentry, weaving, pottery, and blacksmithing are highly developed, often specific to individual families. Carpentry produces sturdy furniture, doors, and tools. Weaving transforms wool from yaks and sheep into clothing, blankets, and ropes. Pottery stores grains and liquids, while blacksmiths forge tools and repair hardware essential for everyday work. Each craft is taught patiently over years, with apprentices learning by observation, repetition, and subtle guidance. These skills ensure the survival of both the village and its traditions. Music and storytelling are more than entertainment. They are repositories of knowledge. Songs recount the history of the mountains, the lineage of families, and the deeds of ancestors. Tales of perilous journeys, heroic herding, and survival in harsh winters teach younger generations both practical skills and moral lessons. Even the youngest children, listening quietly near the hearth, absorb these stories, internalizing rhythms, words, and lessons that will guide them in the years to come. Festivals punctuate the year with rhythm and beauty. Though small and modest, they are deeply significant. Seasonal festivals mark planting and harvest, the arrival of spring, and the onset of winter. During these times, villagers adorn their homes and shrines with flowers, flags, and grains. Music fills the air, food is shared generously, and ceremonies link the community to both the spiritual and natural world. In some villages, masked dances or processions accompany rituals representing spirits, ancestors, or animals important to local belief. Participation is collective, ensuring that everyone, children, adults, and elders, feels connected to the cycle of life and community. Even leisure is framed by practicality and awareness of the environment. Games for children often involve skill and observation, racing along paths, balancing on logs, or climbing trees to gather fruit or herbs. Adults may share quiet conversation, repair tools, or practice crafts during brief periods of rest. Storytelling, song, and shared meals provide comfort and connection. There is no hurry, no rush. The pace of life is dictated by seasons, weather, and necessity, fostering calm, patience, and attentiveness. Education is largely experiential. Children are apprenticed to their parents and elders, learning to plant, harvest, weave, herd, hunt, and craft. They also learn the deeper lessons of patience, observation, and respect for nature. Reading and writing, when taught, are secondary to practical skills, but they are valued for maintaining records, correspondence with distant relatives, or keeping ritual texts. Knowledge is holistic, encompassing both survival and the cultural identity of the village. Weather shapes every day. Monsoon rains bring nourishment, but also risk of landslides. Winter snow isolates and tests endurance. Sunlight, scarce in early morning and fading quickly behind peaks, governs work schedules. Villagers read the sky, the clouds, the wind, and the movement of animals as indicators of coming weather. This intimate understanding of the environment allows them to plan work, ensure safety, and maintain crops and livestock. It is a knowledge honed over centuries, passed down through observation, practice, and careful storytelling. The connection between humans and animals is intimate and practical. Livestock are essential for milk, meat, wool, and labor. Villagers speak softly to animals, understand their moods, and notice subtle changes that may indicate illness or danger. Herding is not merely work, it is a partnership with nature. Even dogs, used for protection or guiding livestock, are valued companions, integrated into the rhythm of village life. The mountains stretch endlessly around the village, their peaks often hidden in clouds, their slopes a mix of rock, snow, and forested ridges. Life in the village is intertwined with these landscapes. Every action is a response to the terrain, the seasons, and the weather. The villagers' homes are built carefully to withstand both summer rains and winter snows. Roofs slope sharply, designed to shed precipitation efficiently, while thick stone walls keep interiors warm during frigid nights. Smoke rises continuously from small hearths, carrying the comforting aroma of burning wood and cooking food. The village, when seen from a distance, resembles a scattering of stone and wood nests, harmoniously nestled among the folds of the mountains. Spring is a season of rebirth. Snowmelt feeds the terraced fields and the small streams that crisscross the village. Villagers emerge from winter, their energy renewed. Fields that were once buried under snow are cleared and repaired. Women prepare seeds for sowing, cleaning and sorting them carefully. Barley and buckwheat are the staple crops, while vegetables such as turnips, cabbage, and hardy greens supplement the diet. Children are given small tasks, learning to plant seeds, water young crops, or help herd livestock. Each day is measured by sunlight, the readiness of the soil, and the behavior of animals returning from their winter shelters. As the snow fully retreats, paths between villages become passable. Small groups of villagers travel cautiously along these trails to trade or visit relatives. Even brief journeys require knowledge of the terrain. Bridges over streams are often made from wooden planks lashed together, and crossing requires balance and attention. Villagers know the seasons when rivers are safe to ford, when snow may conceal dangerous crevices, and when steep slopes are most likely to yield landslides. These practical skills are taught early in life, often by elders who accompany children on shorter, safer paths until they are confident enough to navigate alone. Summer brings intense activity. Crops flourish under the warmer sun, and terraces must be carefully maintained. Villagers move daily along narrow paths, carrying water in leather pouches or bamboo containers. Herds of goats and yaks graze on higher pastures, tended meticulously to prevent overgrazing and ensure sustainable forage. The mountains are generous in these months, offering herbs, fruits, and grasses that supplement both food and medicine. Daily work is labor-intensive, yet it flows with a steady rhythm that is both purposeful and meditative. Villagers wake at dawn, labor through the day, and rest as the sun begins to dip behind the peaks. During summer, the villages also prepare for inevitable challenges. Stone terraces are reinforced, channels are cleaned to prevent erosion from monsoon rains, and homes are repaired in anticipation of the wet months. Women weave textiles, mend clothing, and prepare foods that can be stored for leaner seasons. Men maintain tools, sharpen plows, and check on livestock health. Children often accompany their parents, learning the intricacies of farm work, animal care, and the subtle observations that allow humans to thrive in the mountains. Autumn is harvest time, a period of both labor and communal celebration. Fields are alive with activity as families work together to gather crops. Barley, buckwheat, and maize are collected and stored carefully in stone or wooden granaries. Some vegetables are dried in small smokehouses, meats preserved in cellars, or smoked over fires. These preparations ensure survival through the winter, when travel is limited and supplies from the outside world are scarce. Harvest is often accompanied by small festivals. Shrines are decorated with flowers and grains, and offerings are made to local deities or ancestral spirits. Songs and chants recount ancient stories, linking the current season to centuries of village life. Drums and flutes provide subtle accompaniment, creating a soundscape that resonates across the quiet valleys. Winter arrives with quiet inevitability. Snow accumulates on rooftops and terraces, cutting off paths to other settlements. Villagers retreat indoors, relying on stored provisions and the warmth of fires. Daily life slows but remains purposeful. Food is prepared carefully. Barley porridge, stews from dried vegetables, and milk from yaks and goats provide sustenance. Meat is consumed sparingly. Families gather around hearths to repair clothing, spin wool, and continue crafting textiles. Winter is also a season of storytelling, where elders recount tales of survival, journeys across snowbound passes, and the lessons of previous generations. These narratives carry practical knowledge and cultural memory, ensuring that the young understand both the dangers and the beauty of life in the mountains. Healthcare relies heavily on local knowledge. Herbal remedies, often gathered from alpine meadows, forests, and riversides, are used to treat illnesses, injuries, and fatigue. Elderly villagers act as healers, instructing the younger generations in plant identification, collection, and preparation. This knowledge is critical. Formal medical facilities may be days or even weeks away. Villagers understand the importance of observation, noting subtle changes in weather, animal behavior, or human health as early warnings of potential dangers. Architecture in the village reflects centuries of adaptation. Stone houses are built with thick walls to withstand cold winters and heavy rain. Roofs are steeply pitched and layered with slate or wood shingles. Interiors are multifunctional. One room may serve as living quarters, sleeping space, and storage area. Fireplaces provide warmth and light, and their central placement ensures comfort throughout the home. Furniture is minimal, often crafted by local carpenters using timber from nearby forests. Every element of the home is both practical and symbolic, reflecting the villagers' harmony with their environment. The paths connecting villages are narrow and challenging. Walking these trails requires skill, balance, and knowledge of terrain. Bridges may consist of simple wooden planks, rope crossings, or natural stone formations. Villagers know the safest times to travel, reading clouds, wind, and snow conditions to anticipate danger. Skills like these are passed down gradually through observation, guidance, and careful repetition. Children learn to respect the mountains and understand that their survival depends on attentiveness, patience, and adaptability. Trade, though infrequent, is essential. Small caravans bring tea, salt iron tools, and cloth from distant towns. Villagers exchange barley, wool, hand-woven textiles, and medicinal herbs. These exchanges sustain material needs, but also offer connection to the wider world. News, stories, and even ideas travel along these paths slowly, interweaving distant events with local life. Trade requires planning, timing, and preparation, as mountain routes are not easily traversed, and the weather can alter travel unexpectedly. Spirituality permeates daily life. Small shrines or temples occupy hilltops or are tucked near streams. Prayer flags flutter in the wind, carrying blessings across valleys. Seasonal rituals accompany planting, harvesting, and other transitions, led by local priests or elders. Chants, drums, and subtle music accompany these ceremonies. Spiritual practices are inseparable from daily life, linking villagers to the land, ancestors, and cycles of nature. Even the smallest act, planting a seed, building a wall, tending livestock, is imbued with awareness of both practicality and spirituality. Craftsmanship is essential. Carpentry, weaving, pottery, and blacksmithing form the backbone of village life. Carpenters build sturdy furniture, doors, and tools. Weavers transform yak and sheep wool into clothing, blankets, and ropes. Potters create containers for grain and liquids. Blacksmiths forge and repair tools, ensuring the functionality of farming, herding, and household work. Skills are taught patiently, often over many years. Children observe, practice, and gradually master the crafts, ensuring the continuity of tradition and survival. Music and storytelling are intertwined with education. Tales recount the history of families, the deeds of ancestors, and the natural cycles of the mountains. Stories of survival, heroism, and caution are shared beside fires, often in winter when outdoor work slows. Music, drums, flutes, stringed instruments, is subtle but evocative, accompanying narratives and communal events. Young children absorb lessons and rhythms naturally, learning to navigate both practical and cultural landscapes. Festivals punctuate the year. Seasonal festivals honor planting, harvest, and the transition to winter. Villagers decorate homes and shrines, offering grain, butter, and flowers. Music, dance, and storytelling accompany ceremonies, linking the community to both spiritual and natural cycles. Participation is communal, reinforcing bonds across families and generations. Masked dances or processions may represent animals, spirits, or deities, reminding participants of their place within the wider world. Leisure is modest but meaningful. Children play games requiring skill, balance, and observation. Adults may engage in quiet conversation, repair tools, or practice crafts. Moments of rest are infused with awareness of the mountains, their rhythms, and their dangers. The pace of life remains unhurried, measured by natural cycles rather than clocks. Patience, attentiveness, and calm are cultivated through daily routines. Education is largely experiential. Children learn by doing planting, harvesting, weaving, herding, and crafting. Practical skills are emphasized over formal reading and writing, though literacy may be taught for record, keeping, or ritual purposes. Knowledge encompasses survival, cultural identity, and the subtle observations necessary to thrive in a challenging environment. Elders guide and instruct, sharing wisdom slowly and carefully. Weather shapes every decision. Monsoons bring nourishing rain but risk landslides. Winter snow isolates the village, requiring preparation and vigilance. Sunlight dictates work schedules. Villagers read the sky, the wind, and the behavior of animals to anticipate changes. Knowledge of the environment allows planning, ensures safety, and maintains the delicate balance between human life and mountain landscapes. Animals are central to life. Livestock provide milk, meat, wool, and labor. Villagers understand the temperament and needs of each animal, responding to subtle changes in behavior or health. Herding is both work and partnership with nature. Dogs serve as guardians and helpers, integrating into daily routines. Respect, care, and observation form the foundation of human-animal relationships. Life in the villages is defined by a steady, measured rhythm, one that is both practical and deeply connected to the natural world. The day begins with the soft light of sunrise spilling over terraced fields and stone houses. Men and women rise with the sun, tending to chores that must be completed before the heat of day or the changing weather makes them difficult. Children accompany adults on early tasks, learning the rhythms of work through observation and participation. The mountains dictate much of this daily structure. The quality of the soil, the routes of streams, the slopes and stability of paths, and the weather patterns that change with astonishing speed. Fields are central to village life. Terraces carved into the mountainside have existed for centuries, sometimes for hundreds of years, each stone wall carefully maintained to prevent erosion and hold the soil in place. Planting is a precise activity. Seeds are cleaned, sorted, and scattered carefully by hand. Barley and buckwheat are staples, providing sustenance through winter and fodder for animals. Maize and lentils supplement these grains, while hardy vegetables such as turnips, cabbage, and spinach are cultivated on smaller plots. Each field has its own character. Some retain moisture longer, while others are thin and dry, requiring careful irrigation and attention. Water management is a skill passed down through generations. Channels carved from stone or earth divert snowmelt and rainwater to terraces, feeding crops and filling small ponds for livestock. Villagers check these channels daily during the growing season, removing debris and repairing erosion before it becomes a threat. Children learn early to read the flow of water, understanding where sediment might collect or where a channel could overflow. Every small adjustment has an immediate effect on the yield of crops, the health of animals, and the well-being of the village as a whole. Livestock are equally central. Yaks, goats, and sheep provide milk, meat, and wool. Herds are led to pastures high in the mountains, where grasses are lush and wild herbs abound. Herding requires patience, knowledge, and attention. The behavior of animals indicates changes in weather, the presence of predators, or the availability of forage. Children are often apprenticed to herding early in life, learning to guide animals along narrow mountain paths, anticipate their needs, and recognize subtle signs of illness. Herding is not simply labor. It is a form of intimate observation, an interaction with living creatures that sustains both human and animal communities. Summer is a season of abundance and vigilance. Crops grow quickly under the sun, and terraces require constant maintenance. Villagers work long hours, moving carefully across slopes, tending irrigation channels, and checking on livestock. Herbs, wild fruits, and edible plants are gathered from meadows, forests, and riverbanks, supplementing the diet and providing medicine. Daily work flows with the natural rhythm of the mountains. Each task, from planting seeds to repairing roofs, is performed with deliberate care, minimizing waste and maximizing efficiency. Autumn brings the harvest. Terraces are alive with activity as families gather crops, thresh grains, and store provisions for the coming winter. Granaries, often built from stone or timber, hold barley, buckwheat, and maize. Smokehouses preserve vegetables and meats. Community cooperation is essential. Families often assist each other in harvesting, transporting, and storing crops. Small celebrations mark the successful completion of work. Offerings are made to household shrines and local deities. Songs, chants, and soft music accompany the labor, embedding cultural memory and communal identity into the very act of gathering food. Winter transforms the village. Heavy snow covers terraces and rooftops, isolating the community from neighboring settlements. Paths disappear, rivers freeze, and travel becomes perilous. Villagers retreat into their homes, relying on stored provisions and the warmth of fires. Hearths burn constantly, providing heat and a focal point for family life. Meals are simple but nourishing: porridge made from barley or buckwheat, stews from preserved vegetables, and milk from yaks and goats. Meat is used sparingly, often reserved for special occasions or shared with neighbors in communal feasts. Storytelling becomes central in winter months. Elders recount tales of past winters' heroic deeds, perilous journeys, and the wisdom of ancestors. These stories are more than entertainment. They preserve practical knowledge and cultural memory. Children learn not only the narrative content, but also subtle lessons about caution, patience, observation, and resilience. Songs and chants accompany these narratives, creating an auditory tapestry that strengthens community bonds and instills continuity across generations. Healthcare in these remote villages relies heavily on herbal medicine. Elderly healers prepare remedies from plants, roots, and herbs gathered from forests, meadows, and riverbanks. Knowledge of these plants, their seasons, effects, and preparation is passed down orally, generation to generation. Even small details, such as the timing of collection or the method of drying, can determine the effectiveness of a treatment. Villagers also pay close attention to hygiene, using hot water, smoke, and the natural antibacterial properties of some plants to prevent illness. Architecture reflects both necessity and adaptation. Stone houses with thick walls withstand harsh winters and summer heat. Roofs, often sloped and layered with slate or wood, shed snow and rain efficiently. Interiors are multifunctional, with spaces for sleeping, cooking, and storage. Fireplaces or hearths are central, providing warmth, light, and a gathering place. Furniture is minimal, crafted by local carpenters from timber harvested sustainably from nearby forests. Every element of construction reflects knowledge of the environment learned over centuries. Paths between villages are narrow and challenging. Bridges may consist of simple planks or rope crossings. Traveling these paths requires balance, knowledge of terrain, and attentiveness to weather conditions. Villagers learn early to read subtle signs in the environment: the movement of clouds, wind direction, animal behavior, and the appearance of snow and ice. Knowledge of the landscape is both practical and spiritual, creating a sense of connection to the mountains themselves. Trade and exchange, though infrequent, connect villages to the wider world. Caravans carry tea, salt, iron tools, and cloth from distant towns, while villagers provide grain, wool, woven textiles, and medicinal herbs. These interactions are highly valued. Not only do they provide essential goods, but they also bring news, ideas, and story from distant places. Trade routes are carefully timed, taking into account seasonal conditions and the risks of landslides or heavy snow. Spiritual life permeates the village. Shrines and small temples occupy hilltops or lie near streams. Prayer flags flutter in the wind, carrying blessings across the valleys. Seasonal rituals are conducted by local priests or elders, linking agricultural cycles, spiritual observance, and communal well-being. Music accompanies these rituals: subtly soft drums, the twang of stringed instruments, or the gentle murmur of collective singing. Villagers integrate spirituality into practical life, seeing every action, from planting to herding to building, as connected to a larger cosmic order. Craftsmanship is essential to daily life. Carpentry produces furniture, doors, and tools. Weaving transforms wool into clothing, blankets, and ropes. Pottery stores grain and liquids, while blacksmiths forge tools essential for farming and domestic use. Skills are taught gradually through observation, repetition, and patient guidance from elders. Children learn first by imitation, then by practice, until they master the intricacies of their craft. The continuity of these skills ensures both survival and cultural identity. Music and storytelling are intertwined with education and communal memory. Songs recount the lineage of families, the deeds of ancestors, and the cycles of nature. Stories teach lessons about survival, morality, and attentiveness to the environment. Children learn narrative, rhythm, and observation simultaneously. Music, subtle drums, flutes, or stringed instruments, accompanies storytelling, reinforcing memory and cultural continuity. Festivals provide additional opportunity for performance and communal participation. Seasonal festivals punctuate the year. Planting and harvest festivals honor the cycles of agriculture, while winter celebrations mark the passing of time and the endurance of the community. Shrines are adorned with flowers, grains, and offerings. Songs, chants, and rituals link the community to ancestors and natural cycles. Masked dances or processions represent spirits, deities, or animals, reminding villagers of their place within the natural and spiritual world. Participation is communal, ensuring that every individual, child, adult, and elder feels connected to village life and its traditions. Even leisure is purposeful and meaningful. Children play games that develop balance, agility, and observation, often imitating adult tasks like herding or climbing. Adults engage in quiet conversation, repair tools, practice crafts, or prepare food. Leisure is integrated into daily life, not separate from it. Moments of rest are interwoven with observation of the environment, reflection, and preparation for future tasks. The pace of life is calm, guided by natural rhythms rather than external schedules. Education is holistic and experiential. Children learn through observation and participation, planting, harvesting, herding, weaving, and crafting. Lessons are embedded in daily life, combining practical skills, cultural identity, and awareness of the environment. Reading and writing, when taught, serve secondary purposes such as record, keeping, or maintaining ritual texts. Knowledge is transmitted gradually, patiently, and respectfully. Elders provide guidance, instruction, and caution, ensuring that practical wisdom and moral understanding are passed down. Weather shapes every activity. Monsoon rains nourish crops but bring risk of landslides. Winter snow isolates the village, demanding careful preparation. Sunlight governs work schedules. Villagers interpret subtle cues. Cloud formations, wind shifts, animal behavior, to anticipate changes in weather. This intimate knowledge of the environment allows for planning, safety, and a sustainable relationship with the mountains. Animals are both partners and resources. Livestock provide milk, meat, wool, and labor. Villagers observe their health and behavior carefully, noticing minor changes that may indicate illness or environmental risk. Herding is a skill, a responsibility, and a form of connection to nature. Dogs serve as protectors and helpers, and even small animals are integrated into daily routines. Respect, observation, and care are fundamental to these relationships. Inter-village travel, though infrequent, is significant. Paths between settlements are narrow, steep, and often precarious. Travelers carry essential goods, messages, or news. Bridges, planks, and rope crossings require balance and attention. Elders teach younger villagers the safest routes, how to judge snow and rock stability, and when travel is prudent or dangerous. Journeys become lessons in patience, observation, and respect for the natural world. The mountains themselves serve as both protector and challenge. Avalanches, landslides, and storms are ever-present threats, shaping the timing of work, travel, and communal planning. Villagers develop resilience, adaptability, and an intimate understanding of their environment. Each generation learns to read the subtle signs of danger, to cooperate during crises, and to trust accumulated wisdom. As the seasons turn, the life of the village unfolds in subtle yet profound ways. Houses, built from stone and timber, are arranged in clusters along narrow ridges and terraces, each home reflecting centuries of accumulated knowledge. The layout of the village is never random. Pathways follow the contours of the mountains, terraces cascade in overlapping layers, and communal spaces, small courtyards or shrines, are situated where neighbors can meet, converse, and support one another. Every structure, every stone, and every path has been shaped by generations who understood that survival in the mountains depended as much on cooperation as on individual skill. Families form the core of daily life. Extended families often live under one roof, with multiple generations sharing warmth, work, and wisdom. Grandparents sit near the hearth, offering guidance, stories, and instruction to grandchildren. Parents organize the day's labor, balancing agricultural work, animal care, and household duties. Children contribute in ways appropriate to their age, learning not just practical skills but patience, responsibility, and an awareness of how every action affects the larger family and community. Early mornings are soft and slow, with the first light touching the peaks before it reaches the valley floor. Smoke rises from hearths as the day begins. Families gather quietly for the first meal, usually a simple porridge, perhaps sweetened with dried fruit or yogurt. The warmth of the fire mingles with the scent of grain and fresh water, providing comfort against the crisp mountain air. After breakfast, children head to their chores, often following elders to fields or pastures. Adults set to work on terraces, repairing stone walls, tending crops, and checking irrigation channels. Even the smallest actions, from sweeping the steps to feeding animals, are performed with deliberate care. Seasonal migrations of livestock are an essential aspect of life. During summer, yaks and goats are moved to higher pastures where alpine grasses flourish. Herding is not merely about movement, it requires knowledge of animal behavior, terrain, and weather patterns. Trails may wind along cliff edges, cross streams, and ascend steep ridges. Villagers know these routes intimately, teaching children to recognize safe footholds, observe changes in wind or clouds, and notice subtle signs of potential danger. Herding becomes both a physical and mental discipline, fostering patience, vigilance, and respect for the natural world. In these villages, social structures are fluid yet deliberate. Leadership is often informal, vested in elders whose experience and wisdom command respect. Decisions about irrigation, communal labor, and festival organization are made collectively, with consultation and consensus. Disputes are rare, and when they occur, they are resolved through negotiation, mediation, and appeals to long-established customs. This balance of responsibility, respect, and shared knowledge ensures that the community can thrive even in isolation, where external support is often days or weeks away. Women play central roles in village life, managing not only household duties, but also food production, textile creation, and often medical care. They organize the planting and harvesting of kitchen gardens, maintain granaries, and prepare food for daily consumption as well as special ceremonies. Spinning, weaving, and sewing are continuous tasks, producing garments and blankets from the wool of yaks and sheep. These textiles are vital not only for warmth and protection, but also for expressing aesthetic sensibility and identity. Intricate patterns in woven fabrics often carry symbolic meaning, referencing ancestral stories, spiritual beliefs, or the rhythms of nature. Men traditionally oversee the larger scale agricultural tasks, the maintenance of terraces, and the construction of houses, bridges, and irrigation channels. They also engage in hunting or gathering in remote areas, retrieving firewood, medicinal herbs, and wild fruits. Labor is rhythmic, measured, and communal whenever possible. Even when individuals are working separately, the awareness of the village's needs and the knowledge that neighbors are engaged in similar tasks creates a subtle harmony, a quiet coordination of effort that extends across terraces, pastures, and homes. Children's lives are a delicate balance of work, learning, and play, From an early age, they are apprenticed to family members, observing and imitating daily tasks. They learn to carry small loads, herd goats, sow seeds, or repair small tools. Play is never wasted. Games often involve climbing, running along narrow paths, balancing on stones, or mimicking herding behaviors. Even the simplest activities develop coordination, judgment, and attentiveness, skills vital for survival. Storytelling and songs accompany these early lessons, embedding practical knowledge, cultural values, and a sense of wonder in the natural world. The seasons structure every activity and every celebration. Spring is a time of renewal. Snow melts gradually, feeding streams and nourishing terraces. Villagers prepare fields with care, plowing soil and sowing seeds. Rituals accompany these tasks, small prayers and offerings intended to bless the land and ensure a good harvest. Children watch and imitate, learning the rhythm and the reverence that accompanies work in the mountains. Summer brings long days of labor and observation. Crops grow vigorously and livestock graze in high pastures. Villagers carefully manage water channels, monitor weather patterns, and tend to the health of their animals. Herbs and wild plants are gathered, stored, and used for food, medicine, or dyeing textiles. Festivals in summer are smaller, but no less significant. Rituals may mark the growth of crops or the movement of herds, blending practical observation with spiritual awareness. Music, drums, and flutes punctuate these events subtly, creating an auditory landscape that echoes across valleys. Autumn is harvest time, the culmination of months of effort. Fields are filled with activity as families gather grain and vegetables. Crops are stored in granaries, dried, smoked, or preserved to last through the winter. Communal labor is a hallmark of harvest, with neighbors assisting one another, ensuring that no family struggles alone. Harvest festivals celebrate this achievement with offerings at shrines, songs recounting ancestral deeds, and communal meals that reinforce bonds across generations. Drums beat softly, flutes play delicate melodies, and voices rise together in harmony, resonating against the mountain walls. Winter is a season of retreat, reflection, and resilience. Heavy snow isolates the village, paths are buried, and travel becomes difficult. Families rely on stored food, warm homes, and communal support. Hearths burn continuously, providing heat, light, and a focal point for domestic life. Meals are simple porridge, stews from preserved vegetables, milk, and occasionally meat. Clothing and blankets woven from wool provide insulation, while fires and careful construction protect against the bitter cold. Winter evenings are dominated by storytelling. Elders recount tales of past winters, heroic herders, journeys across snowbound passes, and the wisdom of ancestors. These stories preserve practical knowledge and cultural memory. Children absorb lessons of survival, caution, patience, and attentiveness to nature. Songs and chants accompany narratives, embedding rhythm and memory. Storytelling is a bridge across generations, linking the present to centuries of accumulated experience. Healthcare is intimate and reliant on observation. Herbal remedies, gathered from meadows, forests, and riversides, treat illness, wounds, and fatigue. Elders instruct children in the identification of herbs, the timing of collection, and preparation methods. Knowledge is often specific to microclimates, as plants grow differently across altitudes and exposures. Villagers also pay careful attention to hygiene and wound care, using techniques refined over generations to reduce infection and illness. Spirituality intertwines with practical life. Shrines and small temples occupy hilltops or lie near streams. Prayer flags flutter in the wind, carrying blessings across valleys. Rituals accompany planting, harvesting, and seasonal changes. Music and chanting echo softly across terraces. Villagers see the divine not as distant, but present in everyday labor, the changing seasons, and the mountains themselves. Each action, planting a seed, herding goats, repairing a wall, is imbued with mindfulness and connection. Craftsmanship continues year-round. Carpentry, weaving, pottery, and blacksmithing provide essential tools, garments, and domestic implements. Skills are taught gradually, through observation and careful repetition. Children learn first by watching, then by practicing under guidance. The quality of craftwork directly affects survival. A poorly woven blanket may fail in winter. A cracked pot may ruin stored grain. A faulty plough may damage crops. Crafts are functional, but also beautiful, carrying patterns, motifs, and symbolism that reflect cultural identity and aesthetic sensibility. Music and storytelling are also a form of education. Tales recount history, deeds of ancestors, and moral lessons. Music, when present, is subtle flutes, drums, or stringed instruments accompany narratives. Children learn rhythm, pattern, and moral understanding alongside practical skills. Songs and stories reinforce cultural memory, connecting past, present, and future generations. Festivals punctuate the year, linking villagers to natural cycles and ancestral traditions. Planting and harvest festivals honor the rhythms of agriculture. Winter festivals celebrate endurance and community. Shrines are decorated, offerings made, music and dance performed. Masked processions or dances symbolize animals, spirits, or deities. Participation is communal, ensuring that children, adults, and elders all feel a sense of connection and responsibility. Even leisure activities are purposeful. Children climb, balance, and play games that reinforce survival skills. Adults repair tools, practice crafts, or engage in quiet conversation. Leisure is integrated into the rhythm of life, never separate from work, observation, or learning. Patience, attentiveness, and calm are cultivated naturally in harmony with the mountain's pace. Education is holistic. Children learn by doing, planting, harvesting, herding, weaving, and crafting. Reading and writing are secondary to practical skills, but are sometimes taught for record, keeping, or ritual purposes. Knowledge encompasses survival, cultural identity, and subtle awareness of the environment. Elders guide patiently, ensuring continuity of wisdom and skill. Weather dictates all action. Monsoons bring rain but risk landslides. Winter snow isolates the village. Sunlight governs work schedules. Villagers interpret clouds, wind, and animal behavior to anticipate weather, balancing risk and opportunity. This intimate knowledge of the environment allows planning, ensures safety, and sustains life in a harsh yet generous landscape. The rhythm of life in these Himalayan villages is closely intertwined with the cycles of nature. Villagers rise and sleep according to the sun, and even the hours spent working or resting follow subtle patterns dictated by seasonal changes. During the pre-dawn hours, the village is still, except for the occasional crow of a rooster or the soft bleating of goats. Smoke rises from chimneys as fires are rekindled to warm homes and prepare breakfast. Children, wrapped in woolen shawls, quietly help with chores or watch elders at work, learning patience, observation, and responsibility before they even reach full consciousness of the day. Winter mornings are particularly quiet. The snow muffles footsteps, softening every sound. Terraces, rooftops, and paths are blanketed in white. Villagers move carefully, aware of the hidden ice beneath the fresh snow, adjusting each step to avoid slips. Yaks and goats huddle together, their breath visible in the crisp air, and livestock caretakers check on animals early, ensuring they have enough fodder and warmth. The cold sharpens the senses. It heightens awareness of subtle movements, small sounds, and the slow changes in light and weather that signal the day's progress. Meals are both sustenance and ritual. Breakfast might consist of barley porridge sweetened with honey or dried fruit, or a warm millet drink mixed with milk from yaks or goats. Bread made from buckwheat or barley flour is baked in small, clay ovens. Cooking is slow, attentive work, requiring patience to ensure warmth and flavor. Family members gather around fires, sharing the quiet intimacy of a simple meal, before dispersing to their respective tasks. Spring awakens the village. Snowmelt fills streams, feeding terraces and small irrigation channels. Villagers prepare the fields with ploughing, sowing seeds for barley, buckwheat, maize, and lentils. Women clean and sort seeds, often incorporating small rituals or prayers for a good harvest. Children assist with planting, carrying small bundles of seed and water. Their work is interwoven with instruction. Elders demonstrate proper spacing, depth, and soil care, teaching through action rather than words alone. The high pastures are alive with livestock in spring and summer. Herds of goats and yaks ascend steep trails, grazing on grasses rich in nutrients after the snow melts. Herding is continuous and attentive work, requiring observation of terrain, weather, and animal behavior. Children accompany elders, learning to read signs in the sky and on the ground, changes in wind, the behavior of birds, and the subtle movements of clouds signal shifts in weather. These observations guide decisions that can protect both livestock and humans from sudden storms or avalanches. Summers are periods of intense labor and observation. Crops grow vigorously, and irrigation channels must be maintained to ensure water reaches every terrace. Villagers repair stone walls, reinforce terraces, and collect wild herbs and medicinal plants from meadows and forests. Women are often occupied with spinning wool from yaks and sheep, weaving it into blankets, ropes, or clothing. The repetitive motion of weaving or spinning is meditative, and the rhythmic sound of spinning wheels mingles with birdsong and the distant lowing of livestock. The village's spiritual life is subtle yet pervasive. Shrines are scattered throughout the mountains, often on hilltops or near streams. Prayer flags flutter in the wind, carrying blessings and intentions across valleys. Small temples or altars may occupy central courtyards, adorned with flowers, grains, and small carvings or paintings of deities. Rituals accompany planting, harvesting, and seasonal changes, connecting labor to the cycles of nature and the spiritual order of the community. Music and chanting are integral. Drums, flutes, and stringed instruments accompany ceremonies softly, enhancing the contemplative atmosphere without dominating it. Harvest season in autumn is both labor-intensive and celebratory. Terraces and gardens are filled with the sounds of harvesting, threshing, and transporting crops to granaries. Grain is carefully dried and stored, vegetables preserved by smoking or drying, and meat prepared for long-term storage. Communities cooperate extensively. Families assist each other in the harvest, ensuring that all members have sufficient provisions. Harvest festivals blend work with celebration, offering thanks to local deities, ancestors, and the land itself. Songs, stories, and dance accompany these occasions, embedding cultural memory into the very act of gathering food. Winter transforms the village into a quiet, introspective place. Snow blankets terraces, rooftops, and paths, isolating the village from neighbors. Travel is limited, and villagers rely heavily on stored food and communal cooperation. The hearth becomes the center of domestic life. Families gather around fires, tending livestock indoors, repairing tools and garments, spinning and weaving wool, and preparing food with careful attention. Meals are nourishing but simple: porridge, stews, milk, and preserved vegetables. Occasionally, meat is shared in communal feasts, marking holidays or special events. Storytelling is a central winter activity. Elders recount tales of past seasons, heroic ancestors, and journeys across snowbound passes. Stories preserve knowledge of survival, ethics, and the mountains themselves. They are interwoven with lessons about attentiveness, patience, and respect for the natural world. Songs accompany these tales, sometimes the gentle hum of a flute, sometimes soft chanting. Children absorb narrative, rhythm, and moral guidance simultaneously, preparing them for the responsibilities of adulthood. Health and medicine rely heavily on traditional knowledge. Herbs, roots, and flowers gathered from forests, meadows, and riverbanks serve as remedies for illness, injury, and fatigue. Elders instruct the young in identification, preparation, and application, emphasizing the importance of timing, dosage, and observation. Even subtle details, such as the correct drying method or optimal collection time, can determine efficacy. Villagers also attend carefully to hygiene, utilizing hot water, smoke, and natural antiseptics to prevent infection. Education is experiential. Children learn skills by doing planting, harvesting, weaving, crafting, and herding. Instruction is embedded in daily life, balancing practical skills, cultural identity, and environmental awareness. Reading and writing are secondary, often used for ritual purposes or record keeping. Elders provide guidance gradually, ensuring knowledge is absorbed fully and passed down accurately. The mountains dictate the pace of life. Avalanches, landslides, sudden storms, and extreme temperature changes require vigilance and adaptability. Villagers develop intimate knowledge of the landscape, recognizing patterns in snow, clouds, wind, and animal behavior that indicate impending danger. This knowledge ensures safety, informs work schedules, and strengthens communal bonds. Inter-village travel is challenging and significant. Paths wind steeply across ridges, traverse rivers, and climb cliffs. Bridges of planks or rope crossings demand balance, attention, and timing. Travel is rarely for leisure. It is for trade, information exchange, or visiting relatives. Villagers plan carefully, timing journeys according to seasonal safety, weather, and animal behavior. Knowledge of these paths is passed down orally through observation and guided practice. Craftsmanship is essential to survival. Carpentry, weaving, blacksmithing, and pottery provide essential tools, storage, and clothing. Skills are taught slowly, emphasizing precision, care, and understanding of materials. Even small errors can have consequences. A poorly constructed granary may leak during monsoon rains. A cracked pot may ruin stored grain, and a weak plough may damage crops. Craftsmanship combines utility with cultural expression, as patterns in weaving or carving often carry symbolic meaning. Music and storytelling are interwoven with education and cultural preservation. Songs recount family histories, cycles of nature, and heroic deeds. Instruments, drums, flutes, stringed devices, accompany narratives, enhancing rhythm and memory. Stories serve both moral and practical instruction, embedding lessons in survival, cooperation, and attentiveness. Festivals are central in reinforcing these lessons. Masked dances, processions, and communal singing connect villagers to ancestors, spirits, and seasonal rhythms. Participation includes every age, from small children to elders, ensuring continuity of knowledge and cultural identity. Even leisure is structured by purpose. Children play games that develop balance, coordination, and observation, skills necessary for herding, climbing, and farming. Adults use leisure for reflection, conversation, or the practice of crafts. Rest is not idle but integrated into the rhythm of life, balancing work, learning, and attentiveness to the environment. Moments of calm and observation are as vital as labor, teaching patience and focus. Women manage households, food preparation, textile creation, and medicine. Men tend larger-scale agriculture, construction, and tool making. Children contribute by assisting adults, learning observation, balance, and attentiveness. Elders oversee and guide, ensuring the continuity of traditions, skills, and wisdom. Every member of the community has a role that supports survival, culture, and continuity. Weather shapes every activity. Monsoons nourish crops, but threaten landslides. Winter snow isolates villages, requiring careful storage and preparation. Sunlight dictates work schedules. Villagers interpret subtle cues, wind direction, cloud formation, animal behavior, to anticipate change. Their intimate understanding of the mountains enables planning, safety, and harmony with the environment. Animals, yucks, goats, sheep, and dogs are partners, resources, and companions. Livestock provide milk, meat, wool, and labor. Herding demands observation, patience, and knowledge. Dogs guard and assist. Even small domestic animals are integrated into the rhythm of daily life. Respect, care, and attentiveness define these relationships. Spirituality is embedded in every aspect of life. Shrines, prayer flags, and altars blend with the natural landscape. Rituals accompany planting, harvest, and seasonal transitions. Music and chant sow subtly across the valley. Villagers see divinity in labor, in weather, in the mountains themselves. Every action, planting, weaving, herding, is a practice of mindfulness and reverence. Trade connects villages to the outside world. Caravans carry tea, salt, iron, and cloth, while villagers provide wool, grain, herbs, and textiles. Exchange strengthens material and social bonds, bringing news, stories, and ideas. Trade requires careful timing, planning, and awareness of weather and terrain. The cycle of life, work, and celebration continues year after year. Each generation inherits knowledge of survival, craft, storytelling, and spirituality. The mountains shape human behavior, instilling resilience, patience, and attentiveness. Communities thrive through cooperation, observation, and care for the environment. Each day blends labor, ritual, learning, and reflection in a seamless rhythm, creating a life intimately attuned to the natural world. The preparation and consumption of food in these Himalayan villages is both a practical necessity and a reflection of cultural identity. Every meal is carefully planned, rooted in generations of experience, and shaped by the rhythms of the mountains. Food is rarely hurried. Preparation is deliberate and methodical, a quiet meditation on the resources available and the needs of the family. The foundation of the diet is grain, most commonly barley, buckwheat, and millet. Barley flour is used to make porridge, flatbreads, and dumplings. Buckwheat, with its nutty flavor, is ground into flour for pancakes or noodles. Millet, small and hardy, is often boiled with milk for a warm, sustaining breakfast. Each grain is harvested with care, dried, stored, and sometimes even lightly roasted to improve its flavor and longevity. Granaries are built from stone or wood, often elevated to protect against rodents and dampness. Villagers understand the precise temperature and humidity needed to keep grains safe through long, harsh winters. Vegetables are grown in terraced fields and small kitchen gardens. Turnips, cabbage, spinach, carrots, and radishes are staples. They are tended with patience, planted in carefully spaced rows, and harvested when ripest. Some vegetables are stored for winter through drying or pickling, often in clay pots sealed with mud or straw. Wild herbs and edible plants are gathered from nearby forests and meadows, adding variety, flavor, and medicinal properties to the diet. Foraging is considered both work and recreation, with children learning to identify edible plants, herbs, and mushrooms from an early age. Dairy is central to daily nutrition. Yaks, goats, and sheep provide milk, which is consumed fresh or fermented into butter, cheese, or yogurt. Butter, often clarified into ghee, is used in cooking and as a source of long-lasting energy. Yogurt and cheese provide protein and are sometimes dried or pressed to last through winter. Milk-based products are also used in rituals, offered to deities at shrines or shared during festivals. Villagers know the precise timing and method for milking, fermenting, and storing these products, understanding how temperature, altitude, and season affect taste, consistency, and shelf life. Meat is less common but highly valued. Goat and yak meat are consumed primarily during festivals, communal celebrations, or in times of abundance. Meat is carefully butchered, cooked, and preserved. Smoking, drying, and salting extend its shelf life. Even the preparation of meat follows traditional methods, ensuring hygiene and flavor while respecting the animal. Special meals are sometimes prepared for visiting relatives or traveling traders, symbolizing hospitality and communal bonds. Cooking methods are adapted to the environment. Wood-burning stoves and hearths are central, providing heat for both warmth and cooking. Clay ovens, small and carefully insulated, allow for baking bread, roasting vegetables, or slow cooking stews. Cooking is often communal. Women work together to prepare large quantities of food for families, festivals, or seasonal gatherings. The rhythmic sounds of chopping, grinding, and stirring blend with the ambient sounds of the village, creating a comforting background to daily life. Tea, often brewed with milk and sometimes sweetened with local honey, is a ritual as much as a beverage. Afternoon tea provides warmth, relaxation, and a pause in the day's labor. It is served to visitors, neighbors, or family members, reinforcing bonds and offering a moment of quiet reflection. The careful selection of leaves, the precise timing of brewing, and the addition of milk or herbs reflect knowledge passed down through generations. Cultural practices around food are intertwined with spirituality. Offerings of grains, butter, milk, or fruit are made at small shrines or household altars, thanking the spirits, deities, or ancestors for abundance. During festivals, entire meals may be prepared for ceremonial purposes, symbolizing harmony, gratitude, and continuity. Recipes are often accompanied by chants, songs, or stories, connecting flavor and nourishment to memory and tradition. Daily life unfolds around these patterns of work and sustenance. Early mornings begin with tending to livestock, feeding yaks and goats, checking for illness and preparing fodder. Water is drawn from nearby streams or collected from rain, carefully distributed to gardens and fields. Breakfast follows, simple but nourishing, sustaining villagers for hours of labor in fields, terraces or forests. Midday meals are often small, a bit of bread, cheese or porridge eaten while resting from work. Evening meals are more elaborate, a time to gather as a family, share news, and savour the fruits of the day's labour. Children's involvement in food preparation begins early. They learn to grind grains with hand mills, knead dough, tend small vegetable patches, and fetch water. Play often intertwines with these tasks, turning labour into observation and skill building. Foraging trips to nearby forests teach identification of edible plants, understanding of seasonal cycles, and awareness of animal behaviour. Even leisure activities contribute to knowledge and survival, subtly preparing children for adulthood. The seasons dictate what is eaten and how. Spring and summer bring fresh greens, herbs, and young shoots. Autumn provides harvested grains, root vegetables, and stored fruits. Winter relies on preserved food, dairy products, occasional meat. Villagers maintain careful inventories, knowing precisely how long each product will last and how to rotate supplies to prevent spoilage. Preservation techniques are as much art as science, refined through centuries of trial, observation, and adaptation to the harsh mountain environment. Festivals highlight the importance of food and community. Planting festivals in spring may involve offering the first seeds to deities, sharing a meal of barley, porridge, or dumplings, and singing songs that celebrate fertility, growth, and the mountain's generosity. Harvest festivals in autumn are larger, marked by communal preparation of bread, dried vegetables and meat, music, dancing, and offerings at shrines. Even minor festivals often involve symbolic dishes, linking the act of eating to memory, spirituality, and seasonal awareness. Food also carries stories. Recipes are remembered, recited, and demonstrated through generations. Each meal is an opportunity to teach children not only the mechanics of preparation, but the cultural and spiritual meaning embedded in every dish. Spices, herbs, and preparation methods are linked to ancestors, local ecology, and the village's identity. Sharing meals strengthens social bonds, reinforcing relationships across families, neighbors, and the wider community. The taste of the mountains is ever present. Water from streams, crisp and cold, flavors porridge and tea. Herbs and wild greens provide subtle bitterness or fragrance. Barley and buckwheat impart warmth and nourishment. Meat, when eaten, carries the flavor of alpine pastures and fresh air. Even daily meals connect villagers intimately to the land, its cycles, and its challenges. Eating is both sustenance and meditation, an opportunity to honor the land, animals, and ancestors. Cultural rituals extend into mealtime as well. Before eating, small offerings may be placed on altars or on stones outside the home, intended to honor local spirits or thank the mountains for abundance. Children observe and participate, learning that every act, even the simplest one, like eating or cooking, is connected to a larger web of meaning. Meals become moments of mindfulness, reinforcing community bonds, environmental awareness, and spiritual continuity. Even the tools and utensils carry tradition. Wooden bowls, parts spoons, clay pots, and hand-milled grain grinders are all made locally. Their shapes, sizes, and decorations reflect generations of accumulated knowledge and aesthetic sense. The sound of a wooden spoon tapping against a bowl, or the rhythmic grinding of grains creates a quiet harmony, blending human activity with the natural environment. Trade and exchange further enrich the diet. Distant villages or traders bring tea, salt, iron, and rare spices. Villagers provide grain, wool, cheese, and medicinal herbs. The act of exchanging food, ingredients, or tools strengthens social networks, provides variety, and introduces new flavors while maintaining the traditions of mountain life. Travelers often carry stories along with goods, and meals shared during these visits become moments of learning, celebration, and cultural transmission. Work, rest, and food are seamlessly intertwined in daily routines. Children fetch water, tend small gardens, or herd goats before breakfast. Adults work in fields or pastures, repair terraces, tend livestock, and prepare meals. Midday is marked by small, practical meals eaten quickly but mindfully. Evenings are for communal preparation and shared dinners, conversation, storytelling, and reflection. Life is paced by natural cycles rather than clocks, resulting in a rhythm that feels both timeless and deeply connected to the land. Seasonal shifts alter not only what is eaten but how meals are prepared. In spring, fresh herbs, young greens, and newly collected wild plants flavor daily meals. Summer allows for drying vegetables, fermenting milk, and preparing butter. Autumn emphasizes preservation grains, dried vegetables, and smoked meats provide sustenance for the approaching winter. Winter is the season of stored food, long, cooked stews, and hearty porridge, sustaining villagers through the months of isolation. Even leisure activities are intertwined with food. Foraging trips, herb, gathering walks, and berry picking excursions provide nourishment, physical exercise, and practical education. Children learn to identify edible plants, understand seasonal cycles, and observe the habits of wild animals. Adults may use these excursions to supplement diet, collect medicinal herbs, or teach traditional knowledge, ensuring continuity practice and cultural identity. The communal aspect of food extends beyond the household. Villagers share excess grains, dairy products, or preserved foods with neighbors. During festivals, communal meals involve multiple families, reinforcing social cohesion. Sharing food is a symbol of mutual dependence, gratitude, and respect, reflecting the understanding that survival in the mountains is a collective effort rather than an individual achievement. Cooking methods are simple, adaptive, and efficient. Wood and dried dung provide fuel. Clay pots retain heat and allow slow, even cooking. Stews combine grains, vegetables, herbs, and occasionally meat, creating nourishing and flavorful meals that can last through the day. Bread is baked slowly, filling homes with warmth and aroma. Even the smallest meal is treated with care, reflecting respect for the effort of cultivation, the animal's contribution, and the cycles of the natural world. Every aspect of food, from preparation to consumption, is a lesson in observation, patience, and respect. Children learn that care in cooking prevents waste, preserves flavor, and ensures health. Elders teach that sharing food is an act of generosity and community bonding. Meals are moments to pause, reflect, and connect with the environment, ancestors, and each other. The taste, texture, and aroma of each dish carry memory and meaning. Porridge evokes the slow, careful work of grain preparation. Buttered bread recalls communal mornings and warm hearths. Stews combine the flavors of terraces, meadows, and pastures. Even dried herbs or preserved vegetables remind villagers of past seasons, mountain trails, and family effort. Eating is an act of gratitude, mindfulness, and continuity, binding each individual to the wider rhythm of village life. As the sun begins to climb higher over the Himalayan ridges, the village slowly comes to life. Smoke from hearths rises in thin, curling streams, and the soft bleating of goats and the lowing of yaks echo across the terraces. Each household follows its own quiet rhythm, shaped by centuries of observation, necessity, and tradition. The day begins with chores that may seem simple, but in the mountains, every action requires attention, patience, and skill. Water must be drawn from streams or collected from snowmelt, carried in wooden buckets or leather pouches, and distributed to homes, gardens, and livestock. Women often lead these early morning tasks, balancing heavy containers while navigating uneven stone paths. Children assist, learning to step carefully, to judge weight, and to anticipate slipping stones. These early morning journeys teach more than strength. They teach attentiveness, patience, and a subtle awareness of the land. Breakfast follows, prepared over a wood or dung fire. Grain porridge, sometimes sweetened with honey or dried fruit, is served alongside buttered tea. Flatbreads, baked slowly in clay ovens, accompany the meal. Families eat together, quietly observing the morning light and listening to the subtle sounds of the village awakening. Conversation is soft and measured, reflecting the calm pace that the mountains impose on daily life. Meals are both sustenance and ritual, grounding the community in its shared environment and shared responsibilities. After breakfast, adults disperse to their tasks. Terraced fields demand attention. Barley, buckwheat, and millet require careful watering, weeding, and observation. Terrace walls must be maintained to prevent erosion, and irrigation channels monitored to ensure a steady flow of snowmelt and rainwater. The rhythm of these tasks is slow but deliberate, each movement precise, each step measured. Children follow, assisting in small ways, carrying water, observing, and learning the subtle cues that indicate healthy crops or potential problems. In summer, high pastures beckon with lush alpine grasses. Herding becomes the focus of daily life. Goats and yaks are moved to higher elevations, where the terrain is challenging and the grass is abundant. Herding is not a casual occupation. It is an ongoing exercise in observation, prediction, and gentle guidance. Children accompany adults, learning to notice subtle changes in the landscape, the movement of clouds, the direction of the wind, the behavior of distant animals. These lessons are critical. Misjudging weather or footing can endanger both humans and livestock. Food preparation remains central to the day, even amidst labor. Women spin wool, prepare vegetables, and churn milk into butter or cheese. Children may grind grains, knead dough, or sort herbs, all while learning patience and precision. Meals are planned to sustain hard work, high-energy porridge, nutrient-rich dairy products, preserved vegetables, and occasionally meat. Even during the busiest days, attention is given to flavor presentation and communal sharing. Autumn is a season of abundance and careful labor. Crops reach maturity, gardens overflow with vegetables, and livestock are brought down from high pastures for winter. Harvesting is often communal, with neighbors assisting one another. Grain is carefully threshed, dried, and stored in granaries. Vegetables are dried, pickled, or smoked. Meat is preserved by salting or drying, ensuring it lasts through the months of snow and isolation. Festivals accompany these labors, blending practical work with celebration. Songs and chants mark the rhythm of harvesting, and offerings of the first fruits are made to deities or ancestors. Winter transforms the village into a quiet, introspective place. Snow blankets terraces and rooftops, isolating households from one another. Travel becomes difficult, and villagers rely on stored food, warm homes, and the cooperative spirit of the community. The hearth becomes the heart of daily life. Families gather around fires, preparing meals with care. Stews, porridge, and dairy products dominate the diet, providing warmth, energy, and sustenance. Even small daily tasks, repairing tools, spinning wool, tending animals, become acts of patience and mindfulness, reinforcing the quiet rhythm of life. Storytelling is a key winter activity. Elders recount tales of past seasons, heroic ancestors, and journeys across snowbound passes. Stories preserve knowledge of survival, moral lessons, and village history. They are often accompanied by music, the gentle hum of flutes, or the rhythmic tapping of a wooden drum. Children absorb these narratives, learning practical skills, cultural values, and respect for nature. Storytelling is not merely entertainment, it is education, spiritual guidance, and preservation of collective memory. Herbs and wild plants are integral to food, medicine, and culture. Villagers gather medicinal plants, edible roots, and aromatic herbs during spring and summer. Knowledge of which plants to collect, when to harvest, and how to prepare them is passed down through observation and practice. Herbal teas, dried leaves, and powdered roots supplement nutrition, aid digestion, and treat illness. Children learn these skills gradually, first by observation, then through guided practice. Foraging is both work and recreation, fostering attentiveness, respect for nature, and practical survival skills. Tea and dairy hold ritual significance. Afternoon tea, often sweetened with honey or flavored with herbs, is a moment of pause in a long day. It is shared with visitors, neighbors, and family members, reinforcing bonds and community cohesion. Milk, base dishes, cheese, yogurt, butter, carry not only nutritional value but spiritual and cultural meaning. They are offered at shrines, shared during festivals, and given as tokens of hospitality. Preparing, sharing, and consuming these foods reinforces a sense of interconnectedness among villagers. Work is never isolated from learning. Children watch elders grind grain, churn butter, or mend clothes. They imitate movements, ask questions, and practice slowly, absorbing knowledge that cannot be taught in books. Every activity is an opportunity for observation: the sound of grain falling into a wooden container, the texture of butter as it is kneaded, the way smoke rises from a fire. These small details shape skills, patience, and awareness, preparing the next generation for independent survival. Even leisure is purposeful. Climbing terraces, balancing along narrow paths, or racing across snow-covered fields develops physical coordination and confidence. Foraging trips, berry picking walks, and forest excursions supplement the diet, teach observation, and provide a connection to the environment. Villagers understand that survival in the mountains depends on subtle skills, mental alertness, and intimate knowledge of terrain and weather. Play, therefore, becomes preparation, blending joy with education. Festivals are moments when food, culture, and spirituality converge. Planting festivals in spring involve sharing meals, offering seeds to local deities, and performing small rituals to bless the land. Harvest festivals in autumn are larger and more elaborate, with communal preparation of breads, stews, and dried foods. Music, dance, and storytelling accompany these meals, creating a sensory experience that reinforces cultural memory. Even minor ceremonies involve symbolic dishes reflecting gratitude, harmony, and respect for the mountains. The act of eating is often accompanied by ritual and mindfulness. A meal is not merely sustenance but a connection to ancestors and community. Before eating, small offerings may be made at altars or outdoor shrines. During festivals, entire meals may be offered to spirits or shared communally, emphasizing generosity, gratitude, and interdependence. Children observe and participate, internalizing the connection between nourishment, ethics, and cultural identity. Craftsmanship intersects with food and daily life. Wooden bowls, carved spoons, clay pots, and grain mills are all made locally. Their creation requires knowledge, skill, and attention to detail, and their use connects generations. The sound of a wooden spoon tapping against a bowl, or grain being ground in a hand mill, blends with the natural sounds of the mountains, wind, water, and animal calls, creating a gentle, harmonious auditory landscape. Trade and exchange enrich food and culture. Villagers bring grains, wool, cheese, and herbs to neighboring settlements or traveling merchants, receiving tea, salt, iron, and rare spices in return. These exchanges introduce new flavors, ingredients, and ideas while maintaining traditional methods and values. Meals prepared with traded ingredients demonstrate creativity, adaptability, and the ability to harmonize new influences with local knowledge. Daily routines continue to follow natural rhythms. Mornings are devoted to livestock, fields, and household preparation. Midday meals are brief, nourishing pauses. Afternoon work focuses on fields, pastures, or crafts. Evenings center on communal meals, storytelling, and quiet reflection. Children are integrated into every stage, learning through participation and observation. Tasks may be adapted to age and ability, but all members contribute, reinforcing interdependence, patience, and attentiveness. Even extreme weather integrated into life and culture. Storms, heavy snow, and avalanches require vigilance, careful planning, and adaptation. Villagers observe subtle signs, changes in wind, cloud formation, snow texture, and animal behavior. Anticipation and preparation are as important as physical work. Food preservation, shelter maintenance, and livestock care are adjusted according to seasonal hazards, demonstrating a nuanced understanding of the environment. The mountain environment shapes taste and diet. Water from streams, crisp and cold, flavors porridge, tea, and soups. Herbs and wild greens contribute subtle bitterness or fragrance. Grains are hearty and sustaining. Dairy products reflect the quality of pastures. Meat, when available, carries the flavor of alpine grasses. Even preserved foods, dried vegetables, salted meat, and cheese maintain a connection to land, seasons, and family labor. Food, work, and culture are inseparable. Meals are prepared, shared, and consumed in a rhythm that reinforces community, skill, and spirituality. Children observe and imitate, elders guide and instruct, and families gather in quiet harmony. Cooking, eating, and preservation are acts of mindfulness, linking survival with cultural memory. Every ingredient, tool, and movement carries significance, echoing centuries of adaptation and tradition. Spirituality and food intertwine seamlessly. Offerings of grain, dairy, and vegetables are made at altars or shrines to honor ancestors, local deities, and the spirits of mountains and rivers. Festival meals celebrate abundance, interdependence, and the cyclical nature of life. Daily meals incorporate respect and mindfulness, connecting villagers to the natural world and to one another. Homes in the Himalayan villages are simple yet remarkable feats of adaptation to a harsh and beautiful environment. Constructed from stone, wood, and sometimes mud, each house reflects generations of knowledge about insulation, durability, and comfort. Roofs are often steeply pitched to shed snow, and eaves extend outward to protect walls from rain and melting snow. The thickness of stone walls, sometimes combined with clay insulation, keeps interiors warm during long winters and cool in the summer months. Inside, homes are organized around both practicality and social function. A hearth dominates the main living space, providing warmth, light, and a place to cook. Around it, benches, shelves, and platforms hold everyday tools, utensils, and household items. Sleeping areas are modest but carefully arranged to conserve heat, often elevated above the ground to avoid dampness and cold. Families sleep close together, sharing warmth and reinforcing social bonds. The design of these homes is deeply connected to the natural environment. Stone is quarried locally and carefully shaped to fit together, without mortar in some cases, relying on weight and balance for stability. Timber from nearby forests provides structural support for roofs, floors, and doors. Even small architectural details, window placement, roof overhangs, or stair orientation, reflect centuries of accumulated knowledge about weather patterns, sunlight, wind, and snowfall. Storage is an essential aspect of household life. Granaries, built as separate structures or integrated into homes, protect grains from dampness and pests. Wooden chests and shelves hold preserved vegetables, dried herbs, and dairy products. Tools for farming, herding, and cooking are carefully maintained and stored, reflecting the awareness that survival in the mountains depends on careful preparation, attention, and foresight. Tools themselves are objects of craftsmanship, each created to serve specific functions. Wooden plows, stone grinders, iron knives, and woven baskets are made using techniques passed down through generations. These tools are not merely utilitarian, they carry cultural and aesthetic significance. Handles may be carved with simple patterns, baskets woven in traditional styles, and plows balanced for efficiency and longevity. Even the sound of a stone grinder turning, or the rhythmic clatter of a plow against stone, contributes to the sensory landscape of village life. Villagers maintain and repair these tools with patience and precision. Broken handles are replaced, metal sharpened, and woven baskets reinforced. Skills in carpentry, blacksmithing, weaving, and stonework are taught slowly, often through demonstration and practice rather than formal instruction. Each repair or creation is a lesson in observation, attention to detail, and respect for materials. The layout of the village itself reflects adaptation to the mountains. Houses cluster along terraces or ridges, arranged to optimize sunlight, wind protection, and access to water. Paths wind between homes, carefully maintained to prevent erosion and ensure safe passage, even in snow or rain. Common spaces, often near shrines or wells, allow villagers to gather for social, religious, or labor-related purposes. The arrangement of homes and communal areas fosters cooperation, safety, and a shared sense of responsibility. Water management is central to survival. Streams, springs, and rainwater collection systems are carefully channeled through stone or wooden channels to provide drinking water, irrigation, and livestock support. Villagers understand the subtleties of flow, slope, and seasonal changes, adjusting channels to prevent erosion, flooding, or scarcity. Children learn these systems by observation, gradually understanding the intricate balance between water, land, and human activity. Fire is another central element. Beyond cooking, it provides heat, light, and protection. Hearths are tended throughout the day, fed with wood or dried dung. Smoke is managed to prevent discomfort while ensuring that insects and pests are kept away. The smell of burning wood or dung, mingled with cooking aromas, forms an intimate sensory backdrop to village life. Fire also plays a ceremonial role. Small offerings of food, grain, or butter may be burned as part of rituals, connecting daily survival to spiritual practice. Daily routines unfold naturally within this physical environment. Early mornings see the first steps taken toward tending livestock, preparing food, and checking irrigation systems. Midday is a time for focused labor, repairing terraces, maintaining tools, and processing food. Afternoon may include weaving, wood carving, or gathering herbs and firewood. Evening draws families together, feeding livestock, cooking communal meals, and preparing for rest. Each task is performed with mindfulness, reflecting the village's intimate connection to the land and environment. Craftsmanship extends into the home environment. Woven mats cover floors, providing insulation and comfort. Wooden beams and carved supports are carefully maintained. Clay pots, used for cooking and storage, are shaped, fired, and decorated with simple patterns. Even small touches, placing stones to stabilize shelves, hanging herbs to dry, or arranging firewood for efficient burning, demonstrate attentiveness and cultural knowledge. Every detail of domestic life reflects a deep understanding of materials, environment, and practical necessity. Clothing is another aspect of daily adaptation and cultural expression. Wool from yaks, sheep, and goats is spun into yarn, woven into blankets, ropes, and garments. Clothing is layered to adapt to changing temperatures, with thick woolen coats for winter, lighter layers for summer, and special attire for festivals. Colors, patterns, and decorations often carry symbolic meaning, denoting family identity, social role, or spiritual significance. Children learn to weave, spin, and mend from an early age, ensuring that these skills, and the cultural knowledge embedded within them, are passed down. Hygiene and health practices are integrated into daily routines. Water is carefully managed for washing and cooking. Herbs are used for cleaning, antiseptics, and medicinal purposes. Livestock are regularly inspected, and food is handled with attention to cleanliness. Villagers understand that even small lapses in care can have consequences in the mountain environment. Knowledge about herbs, animal care, and food preservation is taught gradually, ensuring that practical survival skills are deeply embedded in daily life. Spiritual life permeates the physical environment. Shrines are often located at village entrances, near water sources, or on hilltops. Prayer flags flutter in the wind, carrying blessings across valleys. Small temples or household altars house offerings of grain, dairy, or incense. Rituals accompany daily tasks, seasonal changes, and significant life events. Even mundane activities, baking bread, herding goats, or repairing terraces, are performed with mindfulness, connecting the act of labor to spiritual and communal meaning. Seasonal changes shape both activity and environment. Spring sees the thawing of snow, the awakening of streams, and the preparation of fields. Summer is a time of high-altitude pastures, flowering meadows, and harvesting wild herbs. Autumn brings the gathering of crops, preparation of preserved food, and communal festivals. Winter is a period of introspection, careful planning, and reliance on stored provisions. Each season requires adaptation, observation, and skill, reinforcing the villagers' intimate connection to the mountains. Children's roles are multifaceted. They learn through observation, imitation, and guided practice. They tend small gardens, fetch water, herd young animals, help with cooking, and assist in craft production. Play is integrated with learning. Climbing terraces, balancing on narrow paths, or racing through snow teaches physical coordination, awareness, and confidence. Even leisure activities reinforce skills necessary for survival and cultural continuity. Community life emphasizes cooperation and mutual support. Labor is often shared, fields are plowed together, harvests collected collectively, and large repairs undertaken as a group. Knowledge is exchanged, stories told, and festivals celebrated communally. Elders guide younger members, ensuring continuity of skills, stories, and values. Every member of the village contributes to survival, culture, and social harmony, creating a resilient, interconnected community. Trade and exchange extend these connections beyond the village. Caravan paths wind through valleys and mountain passes, linking villages to distant settlements. Salt, tea, iron, and cloth are exchanged for grains, dairy, herbs, and wool. Travelers bring news, stories, and new ideas, while villagers share knowledge of the land, weather, and survival techniques. Trade strengthens both material resources and social networks, reinforcing the interdependence that is vital in remote mountain regions. Even leisure is integrated with survival and cultural practice. Gathering herbs, climbing for observation, or participating in seasonal games strengthens skills, physical coordination, and environmental awareness. Music, singing, and storytelling provide relaxation, cultural preservation, and education. Every aspect of daily life, from household chores to craft work, from travel to festivals, is interconnected, reinforcing a rhythm that sustains life in a challenging environment. The mountains themselves are constant teachers. Their seasons, weather patterns, flora and fauna shape every action, decision, and tradition. Villagers learn to read the signs, the direction of clouds, the behavior of animals, the texture of snow, or the pattern of wind through trees. These observations guide planting, herding, travel, and ritual, ensuring safety and continuity. Knowledge of the mountains is cumulative, passed down through stories, observation, and guided practice. Art, symbolism, and ritual are integrated into daily life. Carvings on wooden beams, patterns woven into mats and blankets, designs on pots, and arrangements of herbs all convey meaning. Symbolism is subtle but pervasive. It connects individuals to ancestors, deities, and the environment. Even small gestures, offering a bit of grain to a shrine, arranging firewood neatly, or hanging a prayer flag, reinforce awareness, mindfulness, and respect.